Hi all, how are you?
Good to see you, Josh.
How are you?
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm doing great, and it's such a pleasure to be able to speak to you all today because I had a great time with this movie. And I've got to start off by saying I think the film's opening is just such a great example of what makes this franchise great. So James and Guy, what would you say is the secret to building the sort of tension we see in that opening sequence?
Well, I think the idea, we both had come up with it independently, very strangely. And when we first had our first story meeting, I kind of pitched in this off the wall idea of Ghostface, kind of having a traditional kill and then taking the mask off, and then we follow Ghostface, and then he gets a call, and Jamie, held up his notepad and he had the same thing written down, and so we're like, okay, we're on the right track. And I think, for me anyway, it was just what haven't we seen before, and what can make the audience lean forward. Like the opening kills in these movies are so important and so iconic. That we're like, how do we change it up and just do something really exciting, and it feels risky, and we're like, wait a second, are we following Ghostface this whole movie? Like, is it from his perspective? And just really make the audience go, I'm in the hands of a madman. I don't know what's happening here. This is crazy. I didn't expect it. And just to keep turning it on itself, I think that's where the tension comes from, is like you have the traditional phone call with Samara's character and Ghostface, and then things just keep changing. You see that that Ghostface knows Tara and knows who Sam is and things like that. So it's just like reveal, 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 and then hopefully that's got you kind of going, oh, what's going to happen next?
For sure. And on that note, James, we do see a few different ghost faces in this movie. And of course, there's that fantastic sequence with Courtney Cox where she comes face to mask with one of them, and we get that brilliant showdown in the apartment. So, what's it like putting together a sequence like that for such a beloved character in this franchise?
I mean, it's such a gift to be able to do that. And I think Guy and I really got excited about the fact that there had been six movies and she never have had a phone call. And we were like, well, that's crazy. But it's a wonderful opportunity for us, right? And Courtney loves these movies and she's so good in them and she's such a good actor. So you just know she's going to deliver. So the idea of just sort of building almost this mini movie and this full meal and letting her just both with all of the dialogue but also with all of the action that she was up for. And then we really wanted to scare you. We really wanted you to think that this might be it for her. And people have such a connection to that character over the last 26 years that it was really important for us to push that all the way to the limit. And I love, one of the things I love about Scream movies is they're scary, but they're also really emotional. And Courtney, I think, just delivered on that for us in spades.
Absolutely. And, the legacy of this franchise is immense. And William, I know you've produced a lot of great movies and been part of some big franchises, including horror over the years. But what's it mean to you to obviously coming onto this as a producer and helping to shape this new era of Scream?
I mean, look, you can't, if wishing made it so, right? You end up in this place where your dreams come true to an extent, partly because of what the franchise is, but partly getting to work with people you idolize, right? Like we were able to work with Kevin and he's now a friend. And, when you grow up in this business and all you want to do is make movies, and then you get to work with the people who made the ones that made you want to be in the business, you end up in this place where you get to, and working with your friends over and over again. There's no better way to do it. So when you do it with something that is iconic and then get to continue it, it's all things going right in the world for you.
Amazing. And like I said, the legacy characters, it's a big draw for fans. And of course, in this movie, I think Kirby is the one we all got very excited about in advance. So again, what's it like to bring back someone like that? And do you make, for all of you, do you have any dream characters you'd still like to bring into this franchise if the opportunity comes up down the line?
I think, I talked about on five, especially like being able to literally, as we're writing the script, like write the name Sydney, Dewey, Gale, and then write dialogue beneath that name was very surreal. It was very daunting. And it was very fun. It was just like, oh my, as William said, it's like, we were such enormous fans of this franchise before we became involved in it. That's just a dream moment, where it's like, how did I get here? Is this actually real life? And Kirby was one that we wanted to bring back in five. And Jamie and I talked about how we might be able to do that. And there wasn't enough real estate to include her in the story. It was very overstuffed as it was, juggling a lot of different sets of characters and storylines and things like that. So it just didn't fit. It wasn't organic. But she was always on the top of the list. And so when six was going to happen, that was one of the first things we talked about was how would it make sense to bring Kirby into the story, because we're such enormous fans of 4 and Kirby in 4 and Hayden Panettiere as a performer. We're just like, how can we work with her? How can we get her into the story? And I got to give credit to Jamie that he figured out the FBI component, and it just clicked. And we were like, well, that makes a lot of sense for the story, but it also makes sense for the character, that her life would have taken a different trajectory after what happened to her in 4, and it would have informed her choices in terms of like what profession she would go into.
And William, you and Radio Fans met with her. Yeah,
that's the other fun piece. I get they have to come up with it. They have the hard job. I get the fun one, which is I get to reach out to all these people. And the fun part has been every one of the legacy characters that we've reached out to has had the same, in different ways, because they were all different in the movies, but the same fondness of how zeitgeisty each one was for their lives and being part of the franchise. So we reached out to Hayden on 5 and Zoomed with her. And it was just so great to know that she remembered it fondly and would love to be back in the Kirby role. And when we called him and basically articulated what Guy just said, which is, we're not going to do it if we can't give Kirby everything she should have in the movie. But if we can figure it out, we'll talk to you. We will call back immediately. And when I got to make the call on 6, it's just so much fun because they all have such fondness of the franchise. And that has been for me at least, and Jamie and Guy, I think, would probably agree that as we've gone backwards with all of these people, what they were a part of has stuck with them. And that's just been a blast, right? Because when you see behind the curtain, it's just awesome when everybody's enjoyed it, right? Like that's the fun. It's not always the case.
Yeah, I can imagine it. And James, as I said, are there any dream characters for you in particular you might like to bring into this franchise?
We don't talk about the future. We sort of have this rule that in each movie that we're never setting stuff up. We're never thinking about, we want to, just like Wes and Kevin did, every time they got up to the plate, they just wanted to do the work that was in front of them and deliver a full meal for the fans, so that it's, you leave it all on the field. And we always talk about, if this is the last Scream movie that ever gets made, we want to make sure we're finishing strong, and that's how we went into 6. And we're so happy people enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, I certainly hope it's not the last. And of course, the meta elements, that's something else a lot of fans enjoy. We saw a lot of it in the last film, and it's obviously in this film it continues with a whole room of Easter eggs, which I think for fans just look like hitting that pause button. But when you've got also a monologue, like obviously we see from Jasmine's character, that must be just a blast for you two as writers to sink your teeth into and deliver all that sort of material.
It's the best, and she's so great. And one of the things that's wonderful about writing a sequel is who you're writing for more to a certain. So when we were writing Mindy and 5, we were like, we think this is a really cool part, but you never know how the actor is going to play it, and you never know who's going to play it. Knowing this was Jasmine and knowing what she was capable of, it's like, all right, let's give her a fastball. Let's get it's like let's just let her off the chain and let her give her just a big hunk of scenery to chew. And she came, I think William that day was like, it was your quickest day, right? Even though she had
and look,
pages of dialogue, she killed it, and we're done,
Right. It kills me to compliment them to their faces. And I will do, and I do it as rarely as possible, but
it's true.
Because they know, because as the person who reads it, one of the first ones to actually read the script when they're done, because they knew the role, the characters playing them, that first draft of all of the core 4 and the dialogue that they wrote for these amazing young actors was so good and so on point. And when you read it, you just went, oh my God, they made a meal for every single one of them. And that's not easy to do, especially, you're in the 6th movie, right? You need to keep it fresh and all that. But the voice that these two found for those core 4 was so good. And it was on the page draft 1. It just, and I think the movie shows because of it.
Oh yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Kills me to compliment them in that way in front
of
you.
You are recording this, right? Because I'm going to need a comment.
Yes, but it is really true, and you get to see. It's fun when you get to see the difference between writing not knowing who's going to play somebody and how they're going to play it versus they have to live with it while they're actually doing it. I just get to read it as a fan first. And you read it knowing who they are and knowing they knew who it was going to be. And it's just, it screamed off the page.
Thank you so much for
Thank
your time.
you, man.
Thanks, Josh.
Take
Thanks,
care.
guys.